Guten Abend. Hey, Stanti.
Bonsoir.
How do you feel? Better?
It's all right. It's all right. Still a little bit raspy.
Makes you even more sexy, maybe.
How are you?
Okay. I'm fine. I'm fine. A lot of stuff happened this week, which makes my mood very, very good. Although I'm a bit exhausted, but I almost don't feel that anymore. And yeah, I'm so happy that you do this video with me because we talked about it and thought it might be fun to do a ranking at the end of the year as a live
Yeah.
stream, discuss with the people, see how it goes. And yeah, our top 10 titles of 2022.
With just a little bit of a caveat in the sense that we're still like, no, I'm probably not going to get a new record tomorrow, but I know I have at least 6 records that I haven't arrived yet that might change a little bit the list. And there's 2 records that came out this year that I missed that that might
That
have
happens
been
to
in
you
it.
too? Okay.
That like I like one is sold out and I have to wait. I have to find like there's one copy for sale on the secondhand market, but it's very expensive, and another one that is just sold out.
Okay.
And I have to be patient a little bit. But other than these 6, 7 records, usually I do my top of the year a little later, so you have a little more distance.
A
And
little, but sometimes 10 months later.
yeah. Stay tuned for my top of 2021, which is coming soon, for real. But also the fact that like we have all this pressure from like the December, everyone does that, so I need to do it, and most often when you do that, you realize like a year later, like, oh, this record actually I never listened to this anymore. So I try to beware of that, and eventually, like in 3-4 months, I guess I'll do like a top 30 of 2022 that will be inspired by this.
Yeah, you know, when I picked and did the list, I again realized 2022 has been a great year. It was a great year when it comes to music. So very impressive.
No, Rob Walker, I don't criticize you for doing that. I criticize everyone because you're surprisingly in the majority doing that.
Okay, Stanti.
Yeah, I wanted to start with a honorable mention because even if I listen to all kinds of music, I try to highlight the stuff that I think is more relevant, that is about now, rather than something that is like comfort food in a way. Stuff that like I'm very familiar with. There's nothing. The challenge is different. It's just that it's a really good record. I don't even if I come from indie rock, from late 80s, early 90s indie rock, there's very little of it that I still seek out, because a lot of it is doing the same stuff from the past, but sometimes it does it very well. And one record I got this year that does it extremely well is this: Lightning in a Twilight Hour. It's a double album with a great cover, actually made by David Toop, the sound artist, which shows also how much crossover there is between pop and the avant-garde. This is the 4th album by this project, which basically is the continuation of the Field Mice. The Field Mice is, it's a classic indie band from the 80s from the UK. One of the few bands you could argue really defined the indie pop style of the time, that was edgy, but also very beautiful, almost I would say cute in a way. That might sound negative, but it isn't. It is just really good songwriting, good melodies, and it's basically the same music as from back then, but with modern production ideas that are subtle. It's not in your face. It's just it's a great album that from someone who is still interested in new stuff and challenging stuff, and like who's listening to stuff like Coil, Soviet France, all this, and that kind of music informs his pop music. You might not even realize that when you listen to it, but it's just a really good pop album, like few people can do anymore.
Okay, that was your honorable mention, and
Yeah.
now give
Now,
us
when we
your
talk about
place
the stuff
number
that
10.
is less connected with the past in a way, even if I hate myself for saying so, I'll start with the fourth album by Carmen Villain. There. This is how you do. And here
So
is her
Stanti's
name.
place number 10.
Yeah.
Carmen Villain.
Which
Villain or
has,
Villain?
in my opinion, there was a sort of companion EP that just came out last month, which is an unreleased track from the same sessions and a remix by Actress of it.
Okay.
So this is she's a Norwegian composer, instrumental musician. I would say that this is ambient pop, jazz, fourth world. There's a track featuring Arve Henriksen on trumpet that sounds beautiful, and it's just like, I would say, global music, because it touches everything. There is singing in ways that are pop, ways that are like art pop, references to jazz, to avant-garde, ambient, everything, and it's just really beautiful melodies and amazing sound production. This came out on the Small Town Super Sound label, which has become a very major label in Norway and in the world of like forward-thinking popular music. And I've heard her first three albums, and this really stood out. I liked the previous album she had, but this was the first time I was like, okay, this is a must-have. This is a no-brainer.
Nice number 10. Thank you, Stanti. Okay, now my place number 10. And as I've made a video about all those records, where I get deeper into this, I don't go too deep in them. In those records, just use, if you want to hear more about the certain album, just use the search function, and then you will find the video about every title. Yeah, my place number 10 is from an artist, and what was the most striking when I listened to it first was the production value and the feeling he transpires, that he has the weight of the world on his shoulders. I'm talking about Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale, and the Big Stepper. Even this iconic cover art with all the symbolism, the crown, the boy, the wife, the family, the weapon defending. An amazing album, in my opinion. Oh no, am I back? Okay,
You're back. Yeah.
An amazing album, and this is my choice for place number 10. Kendrick Lamar, Mr. Morale, and the Big Stepper.
And by the way, you guys, it's difficult to stop too much with the comment right now, but we'll be chatting with you.
Yeah, of course. Yeah. Sorry. Yeah. Okay, Stanti, place number 9.
A record that barely made the list because it just came out and I played it in my last stream. It's the only one that I kind of like feel weird about it because it's an archival recording. It's a record that was supposed to be released on double vinyl back in the late 80s, and they just did a CD. And it was meant as a vinyl because it's meant not just to be the music, but also the fact that you can play them together at different times. It's a playful record from the drone master Phil Niblock.
Yes.
Uh,
Blume, right?
Yeah. Okay. Very difficult to.
Yeah, I can. Yeah, you can see it.
No.
Phil Niblock. Yeah, it's a beautiful.
Indeed, on Bloom.
Yeah.
And the package is it's a wooden box set. I know there's lots of talk about box sets, and I don't care about them, but this one is pretty neat. And it is, if you are interested or like drone, he had his first. Okay, so little context. Phil Niblock started out in the 60s. He was part of the loft scene from Yoko Ono. He was a photographer. He photographed and hung out with Duke Ellington, with Sun Ra, with John Cage, with Yoko, and was part of that whole scene. And of course, then Terry Riley, Lamonte Young, and he is from the same generation as them, even maybe a little more older. And for some reason, he was probably less good at marketing himself because his first records were only released in the early 80s. And this was supposed to be the third one. And it's only getting released now. He's had lots of other records since that. But out of the classic stuff that defined him and his position in the history of avant-garde music, this is probably the easy. I don't want to say that it's the easiest to listen in the sense that it's the most toned down. It's just really, this one is really about beauty.
Yeah.
And it's a beautiful package. It's a fun record to have, and it was really a great surprise that this.
Thanks for your advice, Dante. I got my copy, by the way. I got it. It's ordered. Okay, brilliant. Place number 9, Stanti. On my place number 9 are 2 records. Yeah, but it makes sense because I'm talking about Jack White. I'm talking about Fear of Dawn, and I'm talking about Entering Heaven Alive. 2 incredible, beautiful releases and amazing musical achievements. Those 2 records, in my opinion, are quite different. And in both cases, although they are so different.
In what way are they different?
Yeah, the one is almost with electronic and avant-garde-ish aspects of music. The other one is Jack White pure.
Yeah, so, one is rock and the other one is music. No, but I like.
I love
I
them both.
Okay.
I love them both, and yeah, in a way they are twins. You know, he released them so near together. It's intended, and so this is my choice for place number 9. Those 2 Jack White albums, musically, packaging, editioning, sound-wise, great achievement. Real highlights of the year in
From
my
the beginning of the White Stripes and Jack White, you could hear in his music that he knew all the tricks about rock and roll, but that his music could be in a bigger sandbox than just rock and roll.
Exactly, and I think he goes more and more into that direction. He's really evolving. Impressive. He's a colleague of yours, not only musically, he also has a record. Third Man Records. Stanti, you have a place number 8 or you skip it?
Yeah, it's a record we've discussed a few times. It's the Jocelyn Pook record.
Yeah.
Which is quite okay. Here is, oh no, that's the label. Let me see if I can find somewhere where her name is written. Yeah. Jocelyn Pook. Jocelyn Pook started in the early 80s as a musician, playing different string instruments. She played with the Style Council, with the Communards, with Coil, with all sorts of band. She was also she did arrangements, string arrangements for pop records. And by the 90s, she started to have some of her own work out, which was mostly soundtrack stuff. And this is the very first stuff she did, released under her name, which was the soundtrack to a documentary or an art movie documentary about architecture in Liverpool. And that caught the attention of Stanley Kubrick, who, because of that, hired her to do the soundtrack of Eyes Wide Shut. That's, that's the selling point story, but it's much more than that. It's just great music, and it's of the modern classical nature, but quite unique, with some tricks, some stuff that, like, when you hear it, it's very active. There's stuff happening and ideas in motion that, like, you feel it's not just music, but it's ideas really presented to you in a musical form and in a very effective way. Sometimes a little bit challenging, but not that much. It's actually it's just beautiful music.
There's nothing bad with being challenging when it comes to music, right? Not at all.
I hope not.
Yeah, place number 8. Great choice. Thank you, Stunty. I have a place number 8 too. And again, a record with an amazing production value. You see everybody who is involved, and I can imagine, or I can only imagine, how many people are involved with such a big production. And it reeks this production value in a very positive sense. It sounds amazing. The songs, I don't have a favorite song on this record, because in my opinion, if you like this kind of music, Weekend, Dawn FM, it's a perfect album in a way that there is no song where you say, oh, this is a letdown, or this is not that amazing. This is...
He looks like someone who has been kicked out of the VC.
Yeah, exactly. Or yeah, something like that. Or lost 5 subscribers in 2 hours. Yeah, but still, although he looks a little scared, an amazing, beautiful album. Great achievement. Place number 8. Weekend.
I haven't listened to that one. I've heard it a little bit. It's a nice album. I heard like 2 singles of it.
Yeah, we talked a bit about it when it came out. I remember before I did the video, we discussed and said, damn, this is such an gorgeous listening when you sit there, and sometimes it's nice if you have music you can listen to, sit there and listen to, or you can prepare a meal or eat. And I don't have that with many albums, and this is a beautiful example of when this is perfectly possible. Stunty, 7.
Okay, now we're changing worlds. We're going to Nigeria, in Lagos, with the second album from Emeka Ogbo. This is the title. This is the latitude and longitude of a place of Lagos where this was recorded. This is a sort of audio journal. It's of the city of Lagos. So basically, he uses field recordings of the fish market, the police station, the brothel, the football field, and he incorporates it in music or use it as the core of the tracks. So it goes to either it's like an audio journal, like a field recording. Sometimes it goes into like left field techno. Sometimes
it's on Ostgut Ton, right?
It's Ostgut Ton is no more, but it's like a new label that's coming out of Ostgut Ton. Ostgut Ton being the label of the Berghain club in Berlin. But this is the very first release on that new label that is an offshoot or the continuation of Ostgut Ton, which is Denfotronics. And this is his second album. The first one was interesting, and this this has caught the ear of a lot of people.
Yeah.
Like when I went through the list of a lot of like the Quietus, the Wire, Boomcat, Pitchfork, and all that, a lot of people mentioned this record. Not that my word should be enough, of course, but no, your ears should be enough. And it's one of the few like post-club music record this year that really took me by surprise. I first listened to it online. I thought, okay, it's nice, and then there was one track that like, oh, this is like, oh, this like a mind worm. Like it felt like Maurizio, like
Yeah.
chain reaction techno, but going everywhere.
I remember we did it first time, I think, in one of our pre-order videos, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember that. Okay, my place number 7, Dream Pop, Stunty. In my opinion, Dream Pop at its best. Beach House, once, twice, melody in this extremely beautiful. I open it so you can have a sneak peek in it. Really beautiful edition.
Wow.
It's
a bit techy, I would say.
Yeah, totally. Almost a bit 80s, reminiscence to Gianni Versace in a way. It's a piece of beauty. Again, this sometimes if I'm in this mood and listen to Dream Pop, Beach House is always a good choice. Of course, if you go back to the origins, Cocteau Twins and stuff like that, but once, twice, melody, I think this will be very, very high ranked amongst the Dream Pop fans, Amazing album.
Well,
Place number 7.
Yeah, I mean, it's a big. It's one of the major bands, I would say, of the in pop music of the past 10, 15 years.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And they keep putting out records, and I don't have a record from Beach House where I would say, oh, come on, no, that's not it. So they have a very, very high level for years now. I don't know how long, or is it even decades? But it's a decade at least. Yeah. Oh, Jason, also Beach House. See, okay. Almost half time. Your place number 6, Stunty.
A record that you also bought, and I know you like it, or you'll tell us what you think about it.
It almost made it, by the way. So we would have
in a way that is the most challenging record of the year, but in the best sense. That like it's so diverse, so difficult to say this record is about that, because there's metal in this, there's folk music, traditional folklore, but also like folk. There's field recordings, there's pop, there's like free jazz, there's noise, there's techno, and somehow it feels like one style in a way, his own thing. It's not like a potpourri of different things, but it's so like hyper style in a way. It's it's an insane record. I must confess, I still need more time to fully digest it, but it's probably the most intriguing record of this year on the label that has been constantly for the past decade the most interesting, the most my go-to label when I want to find stuff that is really challenging, which is Death of Rave.
Yeah, I was also so amazed by this record. It's not only in
Christos Chondropoulos, by the way, that's his
you
name.
Did it. Once more, please.
Christos Chondropoulos.
You did it again.
You'll find it on the Death of Rave label.
Yeah, this is an amazing record.
And I remember when it came out, a lot of people were like, wow. And of course, time has gone, and now people talk a little less about it. And I guess also it's such, it's an album that I would say it's overwhelming in a way.
Great place number 6, Dante. Thank you. Okay, my place number 6 is, for me, the biggest surprise this year. I don't know why, but I didn't expect that much. Of course, I ordered it and got into it, and I immediately loved it. Talking about Porcupine Tree, Closure Continuation. First thing to mention, they did a 45 RPM version, which I, of course, loved that they did it. But this is Porcupine Tree in the best sense of the word. It's pure. And okay. I really like that they just sticked to what they have done and what they are, and they just put out an amazing rock record, in my opinion. So this is also one of the most surprising achievements of 2022 for me. Porcupine Tree, Closure Continuation. And if you haven't get it already, because I bought both versions, no problem. Because I bought both versions, the 45 RPM really is an improvement. So this is quite worth the investment if you are into the best sounding version possible.
Oh, sorry, like someone whose name is obviously Greek says that I said it wrong. I read it was Chandro. Okay, well, you know better. Sorry.
Yeah, it's not that easy for us. Yeah. Excuse. Okay.
Someone asked, Ryan asked if there were some pressing issues.
None at all. No. Perfect. Perfect. No problems on the closure continuation. Okay, place number 5, Stunty.
A record that I know for sure that in 6 months or 2 years I won't have changed my mind about it. This is Leila Bordreuil. I've played that record a few times. Yeah. Not an elegy. She's a French cello player who lives in Brooklyn, in New York. And the first side is great, recorded in the subway stop in the subway station in Brooklyn. But for me, it's really the second side, which is prepared cello, runed piano, and sine waves. It's an acoustic record with, of course, some electronic treatments, but like fully analog, and it's very deep, almost dramatic in a way, but it's just about pure beauty as far as I'm concerned. Not saying that is her intention, but the way I receive it was, that's a mesmerizing record. Like you could say it's drone, but it's a little more than that. It's quite more than that, actually. Here, the setting where this was made. Leila, she's recorded. She has about 10 albums out now, and she's played with some of the greatest composers and musicians of our time. And I'm really happy to see a solo release of her. I say Leila as I know her. I don't, but this was a revelation, really. Like that record put her on the map to me totally. She had another record this year that I liked much less. It was good, but like this one, wow.
This is the one. That's nice, because now we are quite close together with our places. With place 5, because my place number 5 is this one.
Yeah.
Sara Davachi.
Oh, I don't know why now it's choosing you.
I've accidentally switched places, but still my number 5, Sara Davachi, Two Sisters, and in a way, the pure beauty thing, the mesmerizing music, the drone.
Yeah, it's a great album.
It goes the same what you've just said for your place number 5, and in my opinion, And I listened for quite some time now to Sarah Davachi, and in my opinion, her best album so far.
For sure, in my opinion as well.
Oh,
Like the
good.
Leila Bordreuil is more like a performance. This is composed music.
Yeah, yeah.
This she has other musicians playing her composition.
Yeah, you see it on the. You also can see that on the subtitle. It says "Chamber Music for Concerts" in yellow, green, and bronze. This is a very strong hint on exactly what you are just talking about. So, if you, and again, I think maybe you agree, Stanti. The Sarah Davachi, the two sisters, is a perfect starting point.
It's a really good one.
For people who are maybe not so in this kind of avant-garde, drone-ish music, I can imagine that a lot of people will like that.
And if you can show maybe the booklet in it, because it's got a very nice object as well.
Yeah. Again, an extremely high and beautiful production when it comes. Make me big so that people can see.
I can't, because like if I now it's me that I'm making.
Okay. I do it. No problem.
Yeah.
Let's go briefly through this booklet. So very informative, beautiful. I always love when they go to the effort and doing these an amazing production. Place number 5 of 2022.
Now, for me, my number 4 is a record that caught me by surprise. I talked about it in our streams. It's the comeback. This year was a comeback of a favorite band of mine, and they released an album in September or so that or in October that we announced. That turned out to me personally, when I got it, to be not what I hoped for. And then out of nowhere, they had a second album, a surprise album. This is Bitchin' Bahas. Switch on the Wah. The coolest cover of the year, the coolest concept, one of the 2 coolest concepts. It's a seal screen that is so perfectly done that you can't even see it's a seal screen. It's so just a little context. Bitchin' Bahas is like this band from Chicago, a duo who does post-rock meets Terry Riley type of music, electronic, analog electronic music. And they took the concept of Switch on Bach by Wendy Carlos or Walter Carlos, who used the Moogs to do Bach music. They do that with Sun Ra. And so it's a little bit fun and not serious in a way, but the result is so impressive. It's one of these records that, like, I enjoy it from start to end. That never happens.
I remember when we talked about and still the cover has not lost his appeal. It looks so amazing even through the stream. Wow. It's a killer jacket, and I agree in a way the jacket or the cover art of the year.
And so you get the influence of Sun Ra. I wouldn't say it's a jazz record. It's like a space age record, but but not in a cheesy, Muzak way. It's
Dante. Nobody expects a cheesy record from you. I can give you that. That's my part. Okay, that was your place number 4, if we have miscounted or miscalculated until here. Yeah, now my place number 4, Stante, we talked about this record and we discussed, shall I put it in? And then we both agreed, of course, because it's from 1922, from 2022. I'm talking about Neil Young and the Crazy Horse, Toast.
Yeah.
Damn, I love this Neil Young record. It's so sinister and deep and dark in a way. Took me total by surprise. He didn't release it for such a long time, but I think a lot of us will agree that we can be happy that he had it put it out this year. He put out a record every month this year, but maybe something we should maybe we should do a best of Neil Young 2022 together. But this is, I love it. I love the production value. It sounds unbelievable good. Of course, it's Neil Young. We know how much effort he puts. We know how much effort he puts into these releases. Great
Totally.
album. Great album.
I think that the best of Neil Young 2022, we should leave that to Rob Walker. I think he's the man
Yeah, I
for
think so too. You're right. You're right. You're right. Oh my God, Stanti. Now we are already at the top 3. This
Yeah.
now gets exciting, huh?
Yeah, and now my top 3, that could be in any order in a way, but
I agree. I
yeah.
agree. I really had a lot of trouble.
I would even say my top 4.
Yeah.
But,
No, in my case, the top 3. Those 3 records stands above all. And that those are the top 3 was out of the question for me. But for you, the top 4 this year, which could have been.
Yeah. And actually the top 5. The top 5 and is like so good for me. But next one is for me the number 3 in this case. Let's decide it is a record. So okay, a little context. In France, during when I was growing up, Rai was very, very popular, which is Northern African pop music. And with Sheb Khaled, Mami, Khaled then. And it became silly. By the 90s, it became super commercial, but it was still a music that was for the people in Algeria and Tunisia, Morocco, and I've rediscovered that music in the past like 4 or 5 years, and that has totally blown my mind, discovering like ways of writing and producing rhythm that is completely outside of the Western way of doing so, and I really liked it. But like most of it was from the past, so it was very nice to see a new Rai record, Sheba Wahida, on a label that is actually based in Egypt. And she's from Algeria. This is her very first record, comes out on vinyl, new Rai music. Quite a lot of auto-tuning tuning on it, used very creatively, but very like it really jumps at your face, this record. It's like a trance of folk music, but also with like really this like it's a little bit aggressive. Like it's like someone who hits on you and is very aggressive in it, but also very successful in it. Like you're like, oh, what is going on? Yes, I'm following you. And yeah, it's just a completely forget about the past, forget about what you know. This is new. This is this is not your grandma's music.
This is different. Yeah, cool. Yeah. Fantastic choice. And by the way, maybe now it's a good moment to address that topic. Stanti, of course, correct me if I'm wrong. I don't know if you're up to it due to the illness. You will do a stream tonight about
yeah.
Okay, cool. So at I think 2.5 hours roughly from now.
Yeah.
Stanti.
I'll do my usual stream with some of it. Not we'll see. It depends. Yeah. It's the last stream of the year. Maybe the people who attend will decide what I play. We'll see.
Okay, place number 3. My place number 3 is from an artist, a giant we have lost this year, and it's so sad. Because he, what I've heard of him, he must have been an amazing guy.
Is it Galactus?
No, from for decades now. I'm talking about Klaus Schulze. Dios.
Wow.
And this is his last album, and damn, he put out a fantastic last album. highly recommended. It's Deus Arrakis / Dune, and he was so involved with the topic that he puts out in 3 record set. An amazing achievement in electronic music. Took me again so by surprise that he was able to give us this killer album as a goodbye.
Yeah.
Klaus Schulze, Deus Arrakis.
It will be interesting to see how the legacy of that album, how it will be considered in Klaus Schulz's discography. I agree with you that it's a good album. He has quite a few stinkers, in my opinion.
Of course, yeah. This endless repetitive stuff is sometimes, at least when you listen to it nowadays, a bit tiring. But this album, damn, and of course in the context that this is his last album and he died quite soon after he finished it, is of course for me quite touching. But still, even if he would be amongst us, still this is one of the best albums of the year.
What a beautiful homage that could be done would be if in the second part of the Dune movie they use some of his music. That would be nice.
I hope so. Yeah, that would be cool. That would be cool. You're absolutely right. Let's hope they do it. Yeah, Klaus Schulze, rest in peace. Place number 2, Stunty.
Yeah, a fairly recent record. Some people are saying that my choices are all pretentious and impossible to find. I disagree. Like, it's just that you have to be dedicated. I would say I agree that it's again, like for those who don't know, I spend a clinically dangerous amount of time listening to new music, so in the end you do find stuff that like is new. And for me, my philosophy is that most artists that you like that do pop music or whatever, they have 1 or 2 good records in them. Then after that it might be good, but it's not really interesting to me. So of course someone who's new, a new voice like Contour.
Okay. Wow.
His first vinyl, I think it's his second album. I've heard of the first album was a cassette. I heard of a previous album that came even before, but I've never seen anyone. It's not even on Discogs or anything. This is an artist from Charleston in the US, Charleston. It's soul rap, I would say, soulful rap or soul music with like urban. He produces it all himself. All tracks written and composed by and arranged by Carrie. I can't read it. Lucas, yeah. And this came out on a British label called Touching Bass, which is not Touching Bass, also from the UK. A fairly new label that, to be honest, like what attracted to me in this was a new release on Touching Bass. I'll check it out. Yeah. And it's not that it has nothing to do with it. It's actually good. And when I played that on my stream, I think I played 3 tracks in a row from that. And like the common opinion was no-brainer. Like, this is a no-brainer. This is like one of the most appealing records of all year. It is pop music, but I would say it's not like the traditional like verse etc., like an old 60s song. It's a little more freeform, but no, not really. It's and short songs, like 3-minute long songs mostly. Contour, Onwards. I don't know how this record can't be. For me, like if you like the Kendrick Lamar, Kendrick Lamar, it's a great album in his discography. This, for me, this is what Kendrick Lamar should be. If there was a new Kendrick Lamar, That was
Don't tell Kendrick. He won't like that. Okay, great one. I knew that you were quite fond of this record. I'm surprised that you rank it that high. Place number 2 in Stanti's list. Not easy to reach. Yeah, my place number 2. When this one came out, I thought album of the decade. I was so stunned, and still, but it didn't make spot number 1 because there is another album that blew me even more away. Okay, so my place number 2, The Smile, a light for attracting attention. Probably you all have heard about it. You all, or most of you, listened to it. Brilliant combination of electronic, jazz, avant-garde, crowd. Again, a perfect album. 2 Radiohead guys, of course, Tom York, and one of now I'll lose the name. The jazz group, the drummer. Santi, help me out. Sons of Kermit, the drummer, who seems to be, what I've heard so far from him, a musical genius, and he adds a lot to this album. So it's not, it's, some said, yeah, it's a only a Radiohead record. I don't agree. This is an outstanding musical achievement in so many regards. And of course, you know, I'm quite into this. It sounds it's a killer. It's a killer sounding record. Amazing. And if it's still out there, get the yellow version of it, not the black version. Strange, Stunty, huh? The black version has problems, has pressing problems.
Funny, for me, I saw Radiohead live in '93. I was at their first gig in Paris. We were like 5 or 6 people. I loved it back then. The first singles, they were hits. I mean, and I grew out of it very quickly. And it's Radiohead is a band I respect, but Radio Band is a band that has constantly, and they say it themselves, they are like a go-between. Yes. They introduce people to LFO. They introduce people to krautrock. That's kind of what they do. Then, of course, you can enjoy it. But for me, I already knew what they were referencing very early on. So, I wasn't that, it never tickled me really as much as I can understand it does for a lot of people. And Son of Kismet is kind of the same for me. It is like a good, nice, gentle introduction. So the two together was interesting, but I'll be honest, for me, I thought the album, I understand the appeal of the album, but it didn't do it for me. That being said,
let me just one sentence, because of course that's totally true what you say, but it is the perfect essence of those styles and directions, and which makes it, for me, something new. Of course, they grab here and there and in this shelf and in this, but they made such a beautiful experience out of it.
For me, I found it a little bit too polite in a way. Like, okay, there was nothing that was having me go, oh, they did that, or like everything. There was nothing unexpected to me. That being said, an album that I haven't received yet, but I have pre-ordered for a long time ago, is the Tom Skinner album, who I totally agree with what you said. His album will, when I later on do a top 30, it will be very high on the list, because I've listened to that online quite a lot, and that was surprising to me coming from the guy from Son of Kismet, because this is so much like a giant leap from what he was doing before was great, but now you're really letting the horse go wild, and that album, which is in a way, I guess, a companion to the Smile album. It's if you like the Smile, and like the jazz aspect of it, you should definitely listen to that one. And thankfully, it's actually one of the greatest jazz albums of the past 10 years, in my opinion.
Okay. So, but we both have one great album left, right? Our album of the year.
Yeah, and it's, for me, it's weird because it's an album I played it for the first time on my stream last week. I had pre-ordered it a long time ago, and the shop fucked it up, and I never got it, and I had to order it from someone on Discogs. And so I also had to reassess, do I really need that one, because suddenly there was like 4 or 5 months again that, like, is the excitement still there? And it's a topical album because it's an album that mines into the Russian and Ukrainian folklore. It's the Kot album.
Okay.
On Agire, by Lena Fialtova. This is space age folk pop music. She sings in Russian. Basically, she takes children books with folk tales for children, and she improvises them over like loops of toy instruments and stuff like that. And for me, I remember when in 2010, I think it was, that Pram, one of my favorite pop bands ever, released The Moving Frontier, which is in a way their masterpiece. That was album of the year by The Wire. And a few years later, they released a new album, their last official one, that was a very big disappointment. For me, this is what I had hoped that Pram could evolve into. Which is funny because in the way it's also the closest to the earlier Pram, Iron Lung, on 2 Pure Records. And this is kind of, so you have like this kind of lullaby meets industrial music. And it is very psychedelic, and also very sometimes dramatic, but also cute. It's wow.
So
really good album.
2022 is Kot.
Yeah,
great. Yeah, my album of the year. When it came out, I listened to it with my wife, and we both said, we listened to it from A to Z, from finish to end, and afterwards we were, wow, what did we just listen to? It was wow, just wow. And of course, this was the first impression, but I went back to it, and it even grew more on me. And so this has to be my album of the year, talking about a young lady from Iceland. Yeah, for Sora.
Yeah, you told me a long time ago that would be your favorite album of the year.
It's wow. It's probably most of you have listened to Björk, but this is almost like a concept album and an opera. And the finishing track is
yeah, the last few tracks of the albums are really where the album really shines, which is interesting for me because there's an album that I had kind of hoped you would feature, an album that I wouldn't mind putting in the top 30 list of the best albums of 2020, which is the 2022, which is the Beyoncé album.
The Beyoncé, this was the choice between Kendrick Lamar and Beyoncé for me, and somehow Kendrick Lamar did it.
For me, it's because the Beyoncé album, the last 3-4 tracks are like so surprising because it's just a growth into that. It really becomes what it says, it claims to be, which is a club music record. And it does so in a way that no mainstream music does these days. None. Yeah. So I thought that was a fantastic album just because of that. But the Björk album is certainly a turning point because also it's her first album since the pandemic.
Yes.
And she had an album 2 years before the pandemic in the works that she scrapped because of it. I think it's also the album that is the mourning of her mother who passed.
I just want to say it. It has a lot to do with her mother, I think. Yeah, with the loss of her mother. Yeah. I agree. So this was and will stay an outstanding album. But I have to say two things. Before we get, if you want, into a discussion, I don't see my list as something which is the truth about 2022, and everybody who disagrees has no knowledge about music. This is my personal opinion and nothing more. It's my taste. It's what I like the most this year, and I did a ranking. So feel free to and talk about it.
I think it's a good point to discuss, like Björk being an acquired taste, because when someone says that, usually you know what they mean. They mean they hate her voice, and to be honest, I really don't like her voice, and yet there are records of hers that I really, really like, especially the record from 2000, 2001. And I like her voice on it, because at one point she's an artist, and she can do such good music with the help of producers that I let go of my own aesthetic bias against her voice, which she can't do that much about, and decide to embrace what she can actually do about it. And she's one of these that, like, despite a really strong bias you can have deeply about some of her core instruments and music, which is her voice, she manages to overcome that every now and then, or often, depending on how you stand with that.
Maybe we try something. Maybe it works out. Those of you who are in the gallery now, if you like to, write your favorite album of 2022 if you have one, so that we can see what albums are popular, how diverse is the taste when it comes to the top album of 2022. Let's see what happens now. Taylor Swift, okay. Here, MP Taylor Swift.
Yeah, actually, on that album,
Panda Bear Sonic Boom is great stuff. I agree.
Yeah, I really like the Panda Bear Sonic Boom concept. I really liked it at first, and I still like it. But if I'm being honest, in the end, I thought it was a little bit too much of a samey and one-trick pony concept. It's a good album, but and I liked and I enjoyed the time I spent with it, but it didn't have the lasting potential I hoped it would, for me at least.
Interesting. See, another one with Porcupine Tree. Okay, Luda, Danger Mouse, and Black Thought cheat codes. Oh, Jason, can't wait for it. Cool. Manfred. Oh, you have the smile, Manfred. Cool. Kelly Wilson, Beyonce Renaissance.
But you know, Manfred, it's yeah, sure. There is the taste thing, but it's in this case, like what Michael and I do, there's that. But I would argue that it's a little more than just that. It's also for me, I really try to step outside of if it was just about taste, I would listen only to like copycats of My Bloody Valentine and Otaker. But no, it is really about trying to have a broad scope of what is being done now, what is being nostalgic, what is a little bit new, and what is trying to say something that is relevant in 2020-22. And the more you listen to, the more you realize there are different perspectives and ways to see things. And I truly try to present stuff that I think will stand the test of time in that regard, besides the aesthetics of it?
Wow, there are really coming a lot of titles. Thank you so much. That's great. Stanti, you know what? We have become such professionals. You know why? Because we talked about, yeah, let's do it roughly an hour. We are through, and by the minute, we are at 1 hour.
Like Alex said, like the KGI know,
Yeah,
for me was
I
very close to
highlight.
the list.
Kevin Morby, okay.
Okay, interesting.
Yeah. Exactly, Grateful Tom. Okay. Yes, thank you. So it's 2 hours from now on, you will do your stream?
Oh, yeah.
Cool. It was fun. I liked it. It was fun. Doing this always as a video was different, but I really liked it. I hope you liked it too. It was fun for you too. If you have questions or something you want to discuss now, we give it another couple of minutes. If there is something, just.
For those who are concerned with my shelves, they're fine. It's like the angle.
He really is. He really is. He didn't stop commenting.
The best still considered albums, to be honest, like I think it's one of the few bands that revitalized jazz in the past like 10 years now, I would say. And I think the first three ones were very, very strong in achieving that. Maybe not the strongest musically, but like any of the first three ones is really, really strong. Then they start to do different kinds of stuff a little bit, so you have to find your own taste in it. But it's the ill-considered band. Like if you're into jazz and want to have something new that is not completely out there, it's such a good band and also a fun band to collect, since they put out very limited editions of 12 inches with alternate versions, remixes of their stuff, live shows. It's a very fun band to collect and absolutely bound to be very collectible.
Stanti, how many records in average you buy per year nowadays?
New one this year. I was being quite hard on myself, and I only bought about 120 new records
this year.
Yeah.
So 10 a month. Okay.
About that. Yeah. A little less. But you know what? It might change a little bit. And when I say that, I'm saying records that were released this year. There's probably a few more in the next 3 months, stuff that I missed or that I will finally discover. All the suggestion from Rob Walker that I completely missed. I will get them very late, of course. Yeah.
Do you know the answer to this question, Stanti?
Yeah. Okay. So the guy. It's Colin Jonco, a very close friend of mine who produced that album and who released that on his own label. He asked me if I could press it for his label, and he had very little money, and he kind of disappeared. But I think that the success of the album will prompt him at one point or another to issue it on vinyl. Like they want to do it, they just are so bad at putting the money into it right now. But it will happen, I think.
Okay, more questions?
Oh yeah, definitely. Michael would enjoy very much Ill Considered.
Okay, thank you, Manfred. Galahad, The Last Great Adventure, fine prog rock, cool. German, British, European, American?
That doesn't sound like an album from 2022, more something like 1,000 years ago, but...
Yeah, you know Galahad, huh?
Galahad is the chinchilla pet of my best friend.
Okay.
Yeah, the Emmanuelle Paronin, for those who don't know, she's a folk singer from France who did an album in the 70s called Maison Rose, Pink House, which has become a cult record of like psychedelic avant-garde folk music and has been reissued many, many times now. So she's become a cult figure, and she just had a new album where, funnily enough, the producer, the guy who I mentioned, he pushed her to embrace also new ways of singing, to acknowledge the fact that there are nowadays Beyoncés and R&B stuff. Doesn't mean that she sings like that, but there are some techniques of that she implemented on that album, and I've seen like quite a few, like the Quietest, Pitchfork. They love that album. Yeah.
Can I ask you guys, listen to the Polish band Riverside?
No, it's not a dancer band, right? It's not a...
I don't. I thought maybe you know it.
I just hope it's not a Chippendale band that you can see live in Vegas. But I will check it out.
Stop it. It was a serious question.
Yeah.
Do you like
Alceste, is that the French like black metal band, like ambient black metal? If so, it's all right for what it is. It's good for what it is.
For sure, Luda, for sure. Yeah, 2022. Tomorrow it ends. What a year.
Yeah, huh? I would say though, every year, as soon as I hear someone saying, "Oh, it was not a good year for music," I think a second, I realize, of course, it was a good year. Every year has been good.
It was for sure a good year.
I would say that for me this year, so slightly less records than usual. That I thought like, okay, this I really want. There are two. There's a record that I almost put there called from this band called Romance, who we don't know who it is. It might be a new guy or a woman or someone under an alias. He did an album called like 100% based on samples of Céline Dion. And concept-wise, it's the best album of the year. It's actually a really good album as well. He also did an album with Dean Hurley, who you like. Dean Hurley, right? The guy who does the music for David Lynch.
Yeah.
And that one I missed. I'm finally getting it. I'm not sure how great it is. I know it's good. I know that like every time I try to find reasons to this is good but not essential, I find stuff in it that really keeps me coming back to it. But I haven't received it yet. But still, it was, I would say, surprisingly so, it was easier than any other year for me to find and identify the music.
Maybe you're getting older, Slant.
Yeah, I'm thinking about that as well, of course. I don't say it was easy, but it was a little easier, a little. I guess also, there's this thing that like people say that like I recommend a lot of stuff that is so obscure you can't find it. I would say that it's less and less the case because everything is becoming more and more rationalized.
Yeah.
And there are less and less avenues to order music. Everything is more centralized. So like 10 years ago, there were so many websites where you could order the stuff that like everyone was in competition. Nowadays, because of Brexit, because of the war,
Brexit plays a big role in it, in my opinion. Yeah.
So really, to have a great scope of everything that is out on vinyl, because of course there's everything else, it's easier than ever, which means that for me it takes much less time to process everything that is like, I mean, it takes the same amount of time, it just takes
Okay, Sandy, thank you so much for
Thank
this
you, Michael.
stream and the other streams. It is always a big pleasure doing those with you. And we will continue the pre-order and other stuff, right?
And in 4 months we'll see each other again, huh?
In Den Bosch. Yeah, I'm trying to organize something with the OBC, with the Original Buyers Club. Maybe we are more than we think. We will see.
Yeah.
We will see. Okay. Thank you all very, very much.
Nice. Hope you enjoyed that.
See you later on Stunties.
And Michael, we should put a list of the
No, I don't put a list. No,
I don't do that anymore. Huh?
No, I don't do that because then they watch the okay. Yeah. No.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you so
Bye-bye.
much. Bye.